We are constantly communicating with everything and everyone around us. Most of the time, we are unaware of what and how we are communicating. This week, I want to discuss the most effective ways in which we can communicate. At the end of this video, I'll use a simple but powerful analogy to help you remember the various aspects of good communication and further clarify any misunderstandings you might have, as well as the #1 secret to good communication. So be sure to watch until the end, and if you like this video or find it at all helpful, please like and subscribe so this message can reach more people who might also benefit from watching. First, I want to get into the most effective ways of communicating with yourself and others. Yes, I said yourself. We are constantly talking to ourselves and listening to that voice inside our head. How you treat yourself is going to affect how you treat other people. Can you start to develop more awareness around the conversations you are having in your head? What are you saying to yourself? How are you being gentle, or are you constantly affirming negative beliefs? Once we start to learn to pay attention to our thoughts and how we are responding to things internally, then we can begin to get some space and some distance from them. Space is what allows us to identify less as the thought and allows us to begin to realize that we are just having a thought. Paying attention to our inner conversations is also going to allow us to gain more awareness in general, and awareness is the foundation of all spiritual growth. On one end of the spectrum, communication can be very healing, and on the other end, it has the potential to be traumatizing. But if you go back and you remember a time in your life when you had a healing conversation with someone, the end result is always communion. That is the #1 thing that makes communication effective. It's when the intention of the conversation is communion. It's the difference between talking to someone and talking with someone. Both people involved need to feel heard, seen, open, cared for, and loved. In order to successfully do this, we need to understand the basic principles surrounding effective communication. One of the greatest gifts you can give someone is to be fully present with them. We've all experienced what it feels like when you're having a conversation with someone and half of their attention is somewhere else. They're either lost in their own thinking and figuring out all sorts of things in their head, or not really listening wholeheartedly to what you're saying because they're thinking about what they want to say next. Either way, the person who is doing the talking doesn't really feel like they're getting their turn, and this is how a gap between two people is formed. There is less sharing and more distance. It would be equivalent to someone offering you half of their sandwich and you looking away while they're offering it to you. There is this gap that is created when we are not fully present with the person we are having a conversation with. Body language, nonverbal communication, plays a huge role in what someone is conveying. Yes, the words we use to communicate are critical, but there is so much we can decipher about what people aren't saying just by paying attention to their body language. This is why one of the fastest ways that you can become a better communicator is just to simply pay attention, become more aware. Notice, what is the other person doing? How are they sitting or standing? What are their facial expressions? Do they seem open or are they closed off? This ties directly into another really important thing to remember, which is timing. Does this person seem like they even want to have a conversation with you? Do they seem open and interested, or are they closed off and unwilling to engage? A lot of people will want to have a conversation with someone because they feel like it, without noticing whether or not the other person seems open for that. For this reason, it's always a good idea to check in with someone, measure their state of receptivity for conversation. If they have something going on with them that's super heavy and weighing them down, then talking to them about something completely unrelated to their problems might rub them the wrong way. Which leads me to the next important aspect of good communication, which is intention. Intention, intention, intention. What is the reason you are wanting to say something to someone? How are you wanting to say it? Can you build this muscle of asking yourself right before you say something to someone, what is my intention behind saying this? Once you set your intention, it sets the entire tone of a conversation. It's now infused with awareness, and the level of awareness you have in regards to yourself and others is going to determine how effectively you are communicating. Can you imagine how that would radically shift things for you and the other person involved? Intentions can be simple. I want to have a playful, fun conversation with someone. Or I want this person to know how much I love them or believe in them. Or maybe I simply want help. If you are the one wanting to initiate a conversation with someone, ask yourself, what is it that I'd like to get across? Or why do I want to speak with this person? Do I want something from them? And if so, what is it that I want? How is this going to be of benefit to them? I encourage you to have a conversation with someone without wanting anything from them. And by that I mean not wanting them to have a certain response, not wanting them to say a specific thing, not wanting them to say anything. Just show up and intend to be fully present with them. Tone. If we were to rely solely on what someone was saying, then their tone and intonation would have no impact on what was being said. But we all know that is far from the case. If my friend asks me, should we go get some ice cream? I could answer evasively by using the word maybe, but the tone I use in which to answer her is communicating a lot more than my words. I could say maybe, or maybe. Listening is an art. I like to call really listening active listening, because although it is receptive, you are actively focused on what the person is saying. How many times have we had a conversation with someone and midway through a sentence drifted off into our own thinking? Or we're already piecing together what we want to say while they're still talking. Can you start to practice fully paying attention and giving that person space to be, to feel seen and heard? It's a real gift to be in the presence of someone who can do this for you. When you start doing this for others, they will appreciate what you are giving them so much, because it's rare that someone can offer themselves so fully and with so much grace. Non-judgment. If we enter into communion with judgment, then all the things I previously discussed go out the window. Communion feels futile. Intention, awareness, and being mindful of timing are difficult. And listening to others is overrun by your own internal dialogue. That's why being present with someone is the key to effective communion. You are not identified as your ego and with its special desires. We can show up and heal each other when we remain open, present, and willing to just be. This creates space in which people will want to open up to you and confide in you. They will start to realize that you are someone they can trust and feel safe with, that you are not going to judge them for what they've done, and that you care enough about them to give them the gift of your non-judgmental presence. As promised, I want to give you an analogy that will stick in your head and help you remember how to effectively communicate. Since images are powerful reminders, let's use the analogy of effectively communicating as having a meal with someone. Let's imagine at this meal we are taking turns feeding one another, i.e. talking, and the person doing the feeding is the one talking, and the person chewing is the one listening. I started with communion as the overarching basis of good communication. And similarly, one can know that at the end of a good meal, we should feel satiated and close with the person we ate with. There is an intimacy that was shared, a oneness between you and the other person. If the person you're about to have dinner with is on their phone, or constantly looking for the waiter, or at other people in the restaurant while you're trying to feed them, they are not there with you, and you begin to feel frustrated and annoyed at trying to put food in this person's mouth. So you stop, and they don't even seem to notice, or they spit out each bite, and you feel equally frustrated because you can't seem to get this person to eat anything you're giving them, because they are not there with you. They may be physically present, but they are checked out and unaware. Before you start feeding this person, are they receptive to eating? Are they even hungry? Are they sensitive or allergic to the food you are about to give them? Why are you feeding this person? What do you want? Are you wanting to shove food down their throat because they overfed you yesterday? Or are you wanting to not feed them for days and starve them? Are you wanting to give them spicy or bland food, hoping to get a reaction out of them? Can you practice gently placing the food into their mouth? Or have you instead decided to throw it in their face? Are you swallowing the food they're giving you so you can shove food down their throat? There should be a nice pace to the meal. And when the intention is to commune, then we are naturally present with one another. The number one secret to good communication is getting rid of criticism, blame, and guilt, and intending to be present and non-judgmental. I urge you to put this to the test. If you approach communicating with others and make sure you are not criticizing them, blaming them, or making them feel bad for something they did to you, then you are going to feel communion and oneness with them. I love you all so much, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.